I'm not late, you're late. Tarot by Janine. No. I was putting together some stuff. I got another VA disability exam coming up in about 12 days, something like that. So I was trying to put together some documents. The last one I kind of fucked up. I got upset and I didn't say all the things I wanted to say, and that didn't transmit well for my appointment, I guess. So this one, we'll make sure I stay on topic.
What you think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up, listen up.
Also,
Because we're never
damn, iDubbbz is getting roasted, bro.
house. Our brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves. Never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves. We won't let the world burn away. Burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Elon's giving them hell, yeah, over the bill, but for the wrong reasons, honestly. Like, he needs to call out and say, hey, it's the tax breaks that are making it so expensive. He wants to stop the spending, right? He's mad about the spending, and it's the tax breaks that are making it so expensive. He's also, I bet you he's probably upset about the EV vehicle credit that they're trying to do away with. Do you guys know that not a single person who voted on it has admitted to knowing that there was some type of special clause in there that said that states could not sue AI companies for 10 years? Even dumb Neanderthal bitch MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, was like, I had no idea this was in there. I wouldn't have voted on it. It says they can't sue AI companies for 10 years. What? Why would that be in a budget proposal?
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. That was Linda Binda. I am Will Bird here with the Cold Beer Confessional. I'm your host. Thank you for joining us. Kind of laid back. We talk about politics and social issues, I guess. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us. This is what I was looking for. I think she might have blocked me because I called her a dumb bitch. But it says, full transparency, I did not know about this section on pages 278 and 279 of the OBBB, the One Big Beautiful Bill, that strips states of the right to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. I am adamantly opposed to this, and it is a violation of states' rights. And I would have voted no if I had known this was in there. We have no idea what AI will be capable of in the next 10 years, and giving it free reign and tying states' hands is potentially dangerous. This needs to be stripped out in the Senate when the OBBB comes back to the House for approval. After Senate changes, I will not vote for it with this in it. And then I think there's a news clip as well.
Woman, you say in full transparency you didn't know that this was in there, and now you're shining a light on it. How did you not know that it...
I understand they probably don't read every line, right? They probably don't read every line of every bill, even though I think they should. I understand they probably don't, right? I get that. How do you not have staff around you that can say, oh, there's something in there about AI in the states? Do you want to know more about that? Yes, I would. Okay, it says that the states can't make any laws or regulations or anything around any AI companies for 10 years. And you're like, what the fuck? Let me see that.
was in there, and how'd you find out about it?
Well, we don't get the full bill text until very close to the time to vote for it. And so that was one section, that was 2 pages that I didn't see. And
so that is true. They don't get the finalized bill text that they're going to be voting on, but they're continuously getting these copies that are being updated, that are being rewritten, that all their staff has, that are feverishly going over all this shit.
I'm being very transparent and honest about it with everyone. That's
a cop-out, right? We don't get the actual finalized bill, blah, 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 but they get all these different copies that are being redone, right? Stuff being removed because people didn't like it. This was definitely in there before, days before she went to vote.
But
Congresswoman, you say in full transparency you didn't know that this was in there.
Did she block me? She didn't bother to read the bill she voted for. She voted yes on.
And now
is this a longer clip? No.
How did you say in full transparency you didn't know that, find out about it?
so problematic that I'm willing to come forward. Just that I didn't see. And I'm being very transparent and honest about it with everyone, but I find it so problematic that I'm willing to come forward and admit that those are 2 pages that I didn't read, because I never want to see a situation where state rights are stripped away. And that's exactly what it says in that bill text, that it would take away states' rights to regulate or make laws against AI for 10 years. And I think that's pretty terrible.
They can't do anything against AI for 10 years, basically, which is pretty insane, right? I spelled it right. Let's see. Can I not find her page? Oh, there it is. I spelled it wrong the first time, I guess. It was under the rep MTG. I'll never remember that, but I left a comment on it, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is your only job. You remember when the big thing was, we can't know what's in it until we vote on it, and that was like the big thing they kept repeating and how dumb it was? Hell, even when they do have the text, they don't fucking read it. So what's the difference? What's the fucking difference? Full transparency, I didn't know this was in there. Here it is. In general, except as provided in paragraph 2, no state or political subdivision thereof may enforce during a 10-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act any law or regulation of that state or a political subdivision thereof limiting, restricting, or otherwise regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems entered into interstate commerce. So as long as they do business with multiple states, right, they can't make any decision about it. No state can come out and say, hey, we don't want you doing this. We don't want it done here. We want to change, this law. Paragraph 1 may not be construed to prohibit the enforcement of any law or regulation that the primary purpose and effect of which to remove legal impediments to facilitate or deployment, operate, operation of an artificial intelligence model, artificial intelligence system, automated decision system, or streamline licensing, permitting, routing, zoning, procurement, or reporting procedures in a manner that facilitates the... By the way, I got a homework project for you guys, okay? I was driving home last night, and I had been seeing this thing, and I kept seeing these... It was an infrared flash. I kept seeing a red flash for an infrared camera on my way home. And I had meant over and over again to make a video and be like, what the fuck is this? And I've actually found 3 of those cameras in my town. But check this out before we get started. Are these in your town? And did you have any say of whether they're in your town or not? Check this out.
Y'all ain't gonna believe this shit. And maybe it's just my paranoia, but I'm gonna show you something that just appeared in my town a few weeks ago, I guess. And I've been noticing it, and nobody fucking believes me, but I'm about to show you. I'm not driving. I'm the passenger. TikTok. Chill out. Here we go.
That's a lie, but...
All right, sitting at a red light. You tell me when you notice something weird over here.
It actually didn't flash when I was driving by. So you're not really going to be able to see it as well as I was hoping. Every time it flashed, I couldn't get a good video of it.
It's out. I'll zoom in a little bit. You tell
It's not on this pole. It's on the next pole.
What was that? Okay.
It's on this pole right here. I even zoom into it. See that black right there? Okay. But I get it closer.
That is a solar-powered infrared camera.
Do you guys have these in your towns? And did anybody vote on it or approve it or consent to it? It's not just a license plate reader. That's the excuse I keep getting. It's not just a license plate reader. Not only does it read your license plate and store that data, it does the parameters of your car. So the color, the size, the make, the model, if it can identify it. And it gets how many occupants are in the vehicle. It logs all those together and multiple trips. And anybody, let me say this again. People are like, oh, it's just law enforcement. If you're not doing anything illegal, why would you worry? Anybody can buy one of these. and run it through the system and have access to the data. Okay? They specifically advertise to neighborhood watches, which are not official groups. That's just me and you get together and say we're a neighborhood watch. Homeowners associations, community groups, whatever the fuck that is, and law enforcement. Not to mention, where's this data going? Well, I know where it's going because I looked it up. It's going to Amazon servers. How secure are those servers? Who has access to those servers? Like if the cops, so basically like if I buy a system, I have access to all my system data. So if the law enforcement is using this system, then any fucking cop can log in on their computer and let's say you have a crazy stalker cop. Let's say his fucking ex-wife left him, cop, right? Fled in the middle of the night and he could find her. He can find her, okay? How secure is that data? And what about that data when Palantir does their thing? They claim they only keep the data for a limited amount of time. Now, if you really press them on it, they say 30 days. But because they don't make that a standard, like we only keep the data for 30 days, official, there's probably other people that have them keep the data for longer, right? And people are like, they're just looking for stolen cars. Maybe. But let's say that we know cops have anger issues. We know cops have family issues. We know cops usually have drinking issues, or a large percentage of cops have those issues, domestic violence issues. How long before a cop hunts his wife down and beats her to death or drags her back home using this system? And who the fuck? I've never even heard my local government say, hey, what do you guys think about these cameras we're going to put up every fucking where? It's one thing to scan a license plate and say, not stolen, delete that data, right? Right? Not on a BOLO list. Let's say it keeps it for 24 hours, right? That way, in case you committed a crime, you pass this before it's reported. Let's say it keeps it for 24 hours, okay? Let's say that I robbed a bank. I passed one of these 6 hours ago, and they can say, oh, well, he robbed a bank 8 hours ago, and he passed this 6 hours ago, so he's probably going this direction. Fine. It's a whole nother thing to how many occupants do you have in the vehicle? They claim they don't do facial recognition, but they can tell you how many occupants are in. So they're doing something, right? It may not be facial recognition to store a photo, but they're definitely using AI to identify bodies, because how can you tell me if I've got 2 people in the back or 2 dogs or a potted plant that's tall, right? Weird. It's another thing to identify your vehicle by make and model, which would come up in your tag stuff if the police ran it, but they're using AI to do it. And building this model around your vehicle and your driving habits. That's weird. I know we've been conditioned like, well, you just assume you're always on camera. We shouldn't have to. Not with shit like this. I understand. Like I drive by this. I drove by a gas station that has a security camera. That security camera is not building a model about my habits. That security camera, a cop that maybe has it out for me, can't fucking run a search engine to figure out where I'm at right now and when he thinks I'll be back through this way. Very weird. They got them at every interstate exit, is what I figured out. I found 3 of them, and we've got 3 exits for my town, basically. And you can't convince me that if Palantir gets their way, they won't eat this data up, right? If it's available through Amazon Web Services and there's some way that they can opt in, they're going to opt in to run all this fucking data and add it to your master list profile. So there are some people in the comments that are pissed off, and there's some people in the comments like, oh, that's part of it. Just assume you're under surveillance all the time. Someone says supposedly they are locating stolen vehicles and kidnapping victims. Maybe, possibly, sure. But there's also just this data. Like, if I drive past it and I'm not a stolen vehicle or a kidnapper, why are you still keeping it in a database? Right? If that's what we're doing, if we're getting stolen vehicles and kidnappers, or let's say there's a bolo, be on the lookout for my tag, and I'm not on those lists, why are we keeping it for at least 30 days, maybe longer? Why am I searchable? Why can a cop go in, type in my tag number, and see everyone I've passed, how often I passed them, when I think they do predictive modeling. So if you go to the same job every day or whatever, it'll predict the next time that you'll be by there. And a cop can just search it with your name or tag number or any of this information. That's insane. It's too much. And the only way that this could really be secure, well, I don't want to say really be secure. The way that this could be more secure is if this went to a local network at the police station, that they have an IT guy, that they have security at, that they manage, right? It's so much less secure when it's going to Amazon. How many hackers do you think are attacking Amazon Web Services all the fucking time? All the fucking time. Not to mention, you guys remember that I sent you that, or we showed that video on stream one day of that guy that was able to like, he bought a camera, one of these cameras, like it wasn't one of these, it was like a traffic cam, an infrared traffic cam that they use in Indiana, I think. And he was able to take it apart, look how it worked, and then go back in and access cameras on the interstate that literally had no fucking passwords to them. And then we have a whole nother issue when we're talking about community groups and neighborhood watches are not official. I don't know if you guys know this, but me and two of my neighbors could just be like, we're the neighborhood watch. We pester the town. They'll put up a sign that says neighborhood watch active here. That's kind of crazy, right? I don't know. It was weird to me. Everybody in the comments are like, yeah, they're here, they're there, they're all around. Housing Authority, the projects. It's from a company, if you want to look them up, it's from a company called Flock. Like a flock of birds, Flock. Very interesting what they will say and what they won't say. So if you go on their website, of course, they're going to pitch it in the best way. Like, we're just looking for license plates of like murderers or rapists or kidnappers or stolen cars. That's all we're doing. But they do a lot more than that if you start digging around. Here's a video on it from the Institute of Justice. Let's see what this one says. It's from January. I didn't even see this earlier when I was looking. Flock's creepy surveillance system coming to a city near you.
In Norfolk, Virginia, police know everywhere you drive. They can tell when you're driving to work, picking up your kids from school, or going to a doctor's appointment. And many residents aren't happy about it.
My name's Lee Schmidt, and I live in Norfolk, Virginia. I was stationed originally in Norfolk on board the USS Bainbridge, and I retired here.
Look, I know I'm paranoid about shit like this. Like, I'm predisposed with my PTSD and shit. Paranoia is one of the symptoms, right? Extreme paranoia, especially of your government or foreign governments. But, like, other people are bothered by this, too. It's not just me.
Here just recently. So I was stationed on Little Creek. I was driving to work, and I started driving by these little cameras on poles. And while I was sitting at a stoplight waiting to get to work one day, I took a picture of one. And I reached out to my local council people with the photo of one and just kind of asked, what were they? Well, I got a response back saying that they were the Flock cameras, and I started to do a bit of research on them, and I really realized how intrusive they were.
In 2023, Norfolk police partnered with a tech company called Flock Safety.
It seems like, so Tennessee already ruled that speed trap cameras and red light cameras are not legal. You don't have to pay those fines in Tennessee. There's a tip for you if you ever get a ticket from a camera in Tennessee. You don't have to pay it. They will send you things like, this could affect your insurance, this could affect your credit. That's not true. They cannot turn it into your insurance. They cannot turn it into your credit. In Tennessee, I'm not talking about any other state. I just know in Tennessee. We actually have a state representative that went kind of viral for burning his tickets when he got them in a trash can, like literally on a live stream. Because we ruled that you had to be able to face your accuser. And that these local governments put them in without some type of vote, right? No one got to vote on this. No one got to say. No one got anything. They just put them in. And it seems like they've done the same thing because I haven't seen this being talked about in the community. I haven't seen this in the news or newspaper or Facebook posts saying, hey, are we okay with all these cameras? Seems like they just hire a company and have them put in and no one says anything.
To install more than 170 automatic license plate reader cameras throughout the city. These cameras are different from a red light camera or speed camera, which are triggered by a specific violation. They watch every car that drives.
So again, that's another issue with these. Red light cameras, speed cameras, when they're working correctly, are triggered by you did something wrong. You triggered it, right? It's not just sitting there recording you for no reason. These record everybody at all times and store the data.
Drives by.
You can actually create a traceable path of the car moving through the city as long as it's being picked up by the flock cameras.
Correct. And it would be difficult to drive anywhere of any distance without running into a camera somewhere.
I don't like being tracked every day. I don't like when I drive by the intersection here at Ward's Corner, then being able to tell which way I'm going. There's 4 cameras there. When I researched the cameras, I did learn about them using artificial intelligence. That when you drive by them, it's not just a snapshot of your license plate number. It reads the
which would be one thing. Like let's take licenses and let's run the numbers and see if we're looking for them. They do more than that.
Demographics of your vehicle.
One whole half of their company is their AI side, like how they can identify this and how they can do vehicle fingerprinting to identify this, and how they could tell how they use it to tell how many occupants are in the car at one time and shit like that.
Brown car, it's got fender damage, and then it can build a profile of where you've been, and that tracking ability is quite nerve-wracking.
Once it uploads driver's information to the cloud, Flock uses AI to create a fingerprint police can use to track the same vehicle as it moves through the city. Flock says its cameras are in more than 5,000 communities across 47 states. Norfolk's police chief commented that the use of Flock cameras in neighboring cities creates a, quote, curtain of technology. Flock's cameras...
So I think it says whoever has access to these, I wonder if they are letting police forces combine. So imagine that scenario again, even larger. Let's say an abused woman and her kids flee in the middle of the night to a different city or state, right? And they did this for their own safety. And then a cop can access that database from that state, from that city, from whatever, or any state or any city by typing in her name or her license plate number or whatever. It's kind of scary.
Store the data they collect, and police can access it without a warrant.
There's no controls on how it can be used. Someone can go out and pull that data whenever they want if they just don't like you. There's no limits or requirements on how often it's audited to see when the police officers have pulled up the information.
In Kansas, police were caught using flock cameras to stalk their exes.
It's already been done. Kansas police chief used flock license plate cameras 164 times to track his ex-girlfriend. Again, if it can be abused, it will be abused by someone. It might not be people in my town, but it might be.
Police were caught using flock cameras to stalk their exes. In California, police departments may have violated state law by sharing their flock data outside the state. And similar databases have been hacked, revealing private data that was offered up for sale on the dark web.
And I'm worried about someone getting in and getting that data and access to the cameras and to be able to know if I'm home or if I'm out of the state. Is it a good time to break into my home? Is it a good time to track my wife? The amount of abuse that can be done by just tracking my vehicle is pretty grave.
This type of prolonged warrantless surveillance is unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has ruled the prolonged use of cell phone location data to follow someone is a search that requires a warrant.
Yes. So if they're tracking your cell phone data, it requires a warrant. There's difference between pinging a cell phone, right, and like seeing where someone is at one possible scenario at a time. But the continuous tracking, which this is making a continuous tracking of you, right, in your vehicle.
In the federal court that covers Norfolk ruled that Baltimore's use of surveillance planes to monitor the city was an illegal, warrantless search. Tracking people everywhere they go is a search, and giving the police arbitrary power to track everyone in Norfolk is unreasonable. That's why
I hate how they treat these new technologies like it's better to ask forgiveness later on than it is permission. Right? Everybody put up the speed cameras. Then they got shut down. And the cops had to leave them up because they signed like a 5-year contract and it was like canceled within like the first fucking year it was made illegal, right? You didn't have to pay them and everybody figured it out.
why Lee Schmidt has teamed up with IJ to file a federal lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of this surveillance program.
With this lawsuit, I hope to end the illegal and unconstitutional surveillance. I hope that my kids don't have to be illegally surveilled, and I hope that other people don't fall to the abuses of the surveillance.
Crazy, dude. Crazy. I didn't want to get sidetracked on that. I just thought about, I made a TikTok video about it. I don't know. I don't think I'm for it unless somebody can prove that my data is safe. We need it refreshed quite often and data deleted pretty quickly. Like they should be, if they're using it to track down, stolen cars and Amber Alerts, fucking get that shit gone in 24 hours. Why are we keeping it for undisclosed amounts of time? Why are we building profiles? That's wild. Anyways. Preston Stewart put out this new video. I was going to watch it anyways. Here it is, recommended to us.
So it turns out the entire airfield was on fire. That's my takeaway from some of these most recent clips. Now, Ukraine continues to claim that they struck 41 different Russian aircraft during Operation Spiderweb a couple days ago. And today, we've got quite a bit more footage showing that
they got tires strapped to the top of that motherfucker.
Expected and may actually be approaching.
I guess to defend it from drop shit. I don't know.
41. I mean, right here, you can see the satellite imagery of what happened after some of these strikes. Those used to be Tu-22s, no longer. But nonetheless, let's get started with this video just released a few moments ago by Ukraine's SBU. Now, right out the gate, we're seeing Tu-95 bombers. Oh, by the way, AWACS plane, A-50 coming up. 2 of them appear to have been hit in this little montage. A couple key notes.
I saw the AWACS.
Bombers. First off, they're the oldest of the group we're going to be looking at today. Have not been in production for a long time in Russia, so it's very hard to repair these and manufacture new parts or manufacture new aircraft from the start. Now, the tires that you're seeing on top of these aircraft aren't really designed to protect them from the actual drone strike. That wing just fell off, didn't it? They're more designed to break up the silhouette of the aircraft for AI. So if you're flying over these drones and even satellite imagery,
I was like, what the fuck is going on with those tires?
Held it as a plane. But my understanding is, starting a few years ago, the idea was break up the silhouette with these tires, make it harder for AI-assisted platforms to strike home. Now, in this attack, AI was... Oh, there's a Tu-22. And I feel like we see a lot of these in this video. Earlier today, Russian...
That's a lot of cool footage.
Total aircraft were destroyed. That's what we can confirm.
A lot of cool footage.
12 are getting hit in this video. Maybe some of these are not detonating or something, but when it zooms out every so often and you see the scope of the destruction along this airfield, it's insane. AN-12, I believe, is a cargo plane. Something else to keep in mind here. Look at that. Holy cow.
Damn.
There we go. A-50. AWACS type plane, so airborne early warning system. This helps Russia to provide guidance for offensive missile attacks and to detect incoming strikes, be it from missiles or long-range drones. So the elimination of these...
That's a big transponder right there. It's got to be expensive.
I believe it.
And a lot of these things they don't manufacture anymore. So
at their peak, Russia had 6 of these. Very expensive, very technologically advanced radar planes is the best way to put it. There's only so many of Russia. Again, I think they had 6 at their peak. 1 was damaged in Belarus at the start of the war. My understanding was like only 3 or 4 were actually operational, which is normal. There's most aircraft, no air force in the entire world has 100% of their platforms fully operational. My understanding was 3 or 4 of those A-50s were operational. So this would bring Russia down, if those strikes were effective, down to 1, maybe 0 total. Now, the location of the strikes here is interesting. In each one of these platforms, you see they're not just ramming into different places along the plane. They're all...
Yes, they don't. He just said they only have a few, and one of them was already damaged. And it's AWACS with a CS, AWACS. It's Airborne Warning and Control System. Control Systems, maybe.
Down to 1 fully operational. My understanding was 3 or 4 of those A-50s were operational. Most aircraft, no air force in the entire world has 100% of their standing was like only best way to put it. There's only so many of these. I believe at one point at their peak, Russia had 6 of these.
They only had 6 of them. One of them is already damaged.
Very expensive, very technologically advanced radar planes is the best way to put it. There's only so many of Russia. Again, I think they had 6 at their peak. 1 was damaged in Belarus at the start of the war. My understanding was like only 3 or 4 were actually operational, which is normal. There's most aircraft, no air force in the entire world has 100% of their platforms fully operational.
Yeah, it's like a combat air traffic controller where they can control, or they can monitor a lot of shit, including ballistics and missiles, and identify them friendly from foe. They're pretty advanced.
Standing was 3 or 4 of those A-50s were operational, so this would bring Russia down, if those strikes were effective, down to 1, maybe 0 total. Now, the location of the strikes here is interesting. In each one of these platforms, you see they're not just ramming into different places along the plane. They're all targeting the similar areas over and over again. So on the Tu-22, right there on the very top, just above the cockpit. On the Tu-95, you saw them going right after where the wing attaches to the fuselage. And the A-50, they're going after the radar sitting on top. This was...
we use the same thing. We fly them off our coast. Sometimes we use them for a lot of different missions. Ours are the E3. There's probably a couple different nomenclatures for it.
Ukraine put this together. There's a mix of manual piloting for these aircraft. Each one of these drones had their own dedicated Ukrainian pilot.
I think there's something called the E7 that's is either out or supposed to be coming out.
That was
There's the E3,
cellular
the Boeing.
all the way back in Ukraine. There was also an AI assist mode here as well, our understanding, to not clear exactly what the point was, if it was the final strike portion or the overall identification of the aircraft. But nonetheless, Ukraine utilized overhead imagery from Russian museums. So some of these planes sit in museums like we have in the United States to help train their AI for what to hit and where, kind of identifying some of the weak spots on the aircraft. As we get to the back portion of this video, and I'll link the original in the description below if anybody wants it, you can start to see, there we go, just the scope of the destruction. It's harder and harder for the unintended consequence here. A little harder for the drones to actually strike their targets when there's so much smoke in the air. You can see that they're going after places like fuel tanks, propellers, the attachment for the wing to the fuselage, and the
right where the engine connects to the wing is always a really good spot.
The hard points for where missiles would be attached. There was a rumor that there may have been missiles attached to these aircraft when they were hit. I've not seen that in any of these clips. Big explosions, but that doesn't necessarily mean, it's hard to tell from a passing explosion if there was a missile or two involved in that, or if it was just a fuel tank or it was just an aircraft. But there you go. That's what.
God damn, that one's engulfed, dude.
With drones. Holy cow. And you'll see, we'll go through some satellite imagery here in a minute. There's nothing left of some of these. So,
especially a lot of the fuel stored in the wings.
God. Pretty significant. Now we're going to get into kind of the only U.S. response we've heard from this so far. And the bottom line is we're not very well prepared to deal with this. But
Donald Trump put out a goddamn... He put out a True Social post. And the motherfucker had a golden opportunity to at least pretend like he's helping to negotiate this shit. But of course he doesn't. He doesn't. Hold on, let's see if I can find it. He deleted it. Which he often doesn't do. He rides it out most of the time, but he actually deleted this one. The post is later deleted, then reposted. So maybe he put it back. So there was a section in it where it says, it was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say very strongly that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. That's the perfect place for Trump to put and I tried to convey hey, let's go to peace. Let's do this. I tried to talk to him. I tried to tell him not to. Anything. But instead, he goes straight to Iran. And we talked about Iran. I told them they can't have a nuclear weapon. They may help us negotiate with Iran. So fucking stupid.
Before getting into that, I do want to shift over to some of the satellite imagery. This one's coming out of Olynya Air Base. And you can see, just kind of zoomed out, we've got a Tu-160 there that appears to have not been hit. And then Tu-95s and an AN-12 that were destroyed. We're starting to get more and more of this imagery come out, and the next couple are actually zoomed in, and it shows the scope of there's nothing left. All right, that's what happened to these aircraft. So it's not as though minor dents and small damages
burn away to nothing.
These in just a way to where there's nothing to be repaired at all. You spray that thing off the pavement and start over. That's what remains of these. You can kind of see the outline on that one on the right. It's an old Tu-95. Gone, erased. Nothing is salvageable from this. Now,
even if they did make parts to repair these, you're not repairing when nothing's left but a wing.
Key points I want to
a wing section.
There's got to be a concern inside of Russia that not all of these cargo trucks have yet been located, as in these were parked just outside a couple Russian airfields. The drones took off, did, as we can see in this clip, pretty significant damage to the Russian Air Force. There's no telling that those were the only drone launch platforms anywhere throughout the entire country of Russia. So a question, no doubt, causing sleepless nights to a handful of people in the Kremlin and hopefully around the world. Hopefully, we're learning from this here in the United States, is that they've got to figure out some way to better defend their airfields and sensitive targets, because these trucks could be anywhere at this point. Now, speaking of drones, we got an ongoing fundraiser. We're almost there, 60,000 raised of a $70,000 goal in a week, because you guys are incredibly generous. This is through Ukraine Aid Operations, where we're getting some ground and recon drones for the 3rd.
That's pretty insane.
13th Artillery Brigade. This organization, which is a registered 501c3 nonprofit, so it's a tax deductible donation, and they're incredibly transparent. They've set up a couple different interviews for this fundraiser, and yesterday, actually, I got to talk with one of the commanders of a dedicated Ukrainian drone battalion. Everything from FPV all the way to long-range 300-kilometer plus strike drones. That interview should be coming out later today or tomorrow. I think it's really interesting in light of some of these recent operations. But nonetheless, if interested and able, the link to contribute to that fundraiser is in the description below. With that, back to the video.
Ground and air drones. Preston's ground and air drones together. We can help the defenders of Ukraine. $70,000 goal. They've raised 60. If you want to donate to that.
And to that, I want to play a clip from the United States, from the White House, our press secretary yesterday, answering a question about this that I just want to drive home. I don't think we're ready for this type of attack. This is the kind of thing that genuinely has changed.
Dude, I don't fucking know. You know how many people come to my fucking channel and leave? You think I know specifically why you got me? I have no fucking idea. Probably something pissed me off. I don't know. That's why it's my channel. But I'm not going to be able to recall what happened months ago.
How warfare is conducted, but let's listen to Caroline Levitt real quick from the White House.
What is President Trump doing to ensure that a similar internal drone attack doesn't happen here in the US, given this was done at pretty low cost, very stealthily? You know, it obviously raises questions about our own security.
All right, I haven't seen this. I don't even seen this. What do you think? What do you think the fucking response is? It was stealthy. It was cheap. I did a lot of damage. How do you think Carolyn's going to respond? I haven't seen it. Maybe you have, but I didn't even think that she had addressed it yet. There we go.
Doesn't happen here in the US, given this was done at pretty low cost, very stealthily. You know, it obviously raises questions about our own security, particularly for US aircraft here.
It absolutely does, and that's why the president nominated Secretary Hegseth and has approved some of the changes that have been made at the Pentagon to ensure that we have the most lethal fighting force in the world, and that the United
She went with Hegseth. That's why we got the Fox News host that can hopefully protect us from this. You know, he's seen cameras before.
United States military is the best, the biggest. That's why he wants the one big beautiful bill to be passed, because it increases our defense spending. That's why he also launched the announcement of the Golden Dome to prevent from missile strikes and attacks in the future. And the president has a full
Is the Golden Dome protect against fucking FPV drones? There's no goddamn way it could target FPV drones. The fuck out of here.
understanding. I can tell you because I've spoken to him about it, about the future of warfare and how drones are a big part of that. And I will not get.
Did you see where Hegseth has demanded that all these boats be renamed, these ships and shit? Including the Harriet Tubman and all these DEI names, and specifically requested that the Harvey Milk to be renamed during Pride Month. Why would he specifically? So Harvey Milk was like one of the first openly gay people elected to public office, right? He specifically wanted that one done during Pride Month. Like, that's insane. It's obviously to send a message, I'm assuming. Wait, under your current name, under Glockwork Orange, there's been 0 mod actions against your current name unless you had a different account.
Ahead of our policy team, but I think you can expect to see some executive action on that front in the very near future.
So here's the deal. To be blunt, none of that addressed the issue whatsoever. We are not prepared for this type of attack. Now, fortunately, and I feel like this is something that most folks aren't appreciating, Ukraine is so far ahead in this aspect of warfare that it's not like Russia even could pull this off, in the next couple weeks or months, or China. This, again, the concept of moving these drones in, assembling them in a foreign country that where you're wanted, right? These are Ukrainians in Russia putting this together, and then setting up these launch platforms, connecting the drones to a local cellular network, and finding specific military targets that were less guarded than others, and then operating those remotely from another country simultaneously at 4 different locations in Russia. That's not simple. That is not easy. And I don't know that there's another country right now that could pull this off anytime soon. It's going to take a lot of trial and error to get there. That said, the solution here is not to find those trucks, right? Or add more electronic warfare to some of the bases. We've seen how some of the drones have started using fiber optic cables. That removes any possibility of them being down by electronic warfare means. So if one of these was, say, outside of the United States Air Base right now, they could launch and they could do significant damage, and we wouldn't have an awful lot to do about it. The reason I say that is, yes, our air bases have radar. They probably have some degree of electronic warfare jammers as well. These drones were operating on a cell network, so you got to factor that piece in. Again, even if
this could absolutely happen at our bases. We would hope that our intelligence, there's all kinds of things that could happen at our bases, right? We don't, a madman with a rocket with an RPG and fucking 30 rounds, right, could do something crazy. We would hope that our intelligence network and those people would catch it in the planning, processing, delivery phases, right?
And if you get around that, maybe they find a way to, maybe they're using these fiber optic drones. They're picked up on radar. Again, most radars in the, inside the United States are looking for larger items, but let's say they're looking for some of the smaller ones here as well.
They can be picked up on radar, but how many birds are the size of my FPV drone or bigger? My 5-inch drone's over there. It's this big. And it's a perfect square. So imagine this big by this big. You know what I'm saying? How many birds are that larger or bigger? Radar is how much do you want to disqualify, right? So obviously, we want like 747s, right? That's on our radar. So we turn it up at least that high. And then we want like Cessnas. So we turn it down. And we want mini helicopters. We don't want kites. We don't want to be picking up kites on a fucking radar, right? We don't want to be picking up birds on a fucking radar. You can make it as powerful as you want, but what all other trash you're going to... It's the same reason we didn't catch the Chinese balloon. Can we get a weather balloon on our radar, like that Chinese balloon? Absolutely. Are we going to have to check out 300,000 birds a day on radar as well? And be like, no, it's just a bird. No, it's just a bird. No, it's just a bird.
Well, and they pick up those quadcopters. How many effective surface air munitions do we have at all of our air bases around the country? There were 171 drones launched during this attack. And how many of those are going to get through? And the answer today is quite a few, because we are not set up.
Every defensive system can be overwhelmed, okay? Israel's learned this. Even if we had the Golden Dome or whatever the fuck he's calling it, we'll have to learn this lesson. If it can pick up 1,000, we send 2,000. If it can pick up 1,000,000, we send 1,000,000 and 1,000. Every system can be overwhelmed, every defensive system. That's why our systems are built on layers, right? And not only are they built on layers, one of the only systems in the world that can pick up and hand off targets from system to system to system, right? I can have one style system out on the coast, another style system 100 miles inland, another style system of 100 miles inland, and air targets. And not only can they all find a missile headed towards us, but they can help each other locate that missile and hand it off to the next defensive system as it approaches. Most countries can't do that. Most systems can't manage that.
To defend against this type of thing. So right now we have yet to hear from President Trump, Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Rubio, or Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth on this issue. This is the best we got from the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying, well, we're the best military in the world. But to be honest, right now this is a major vulnerability to U.S. forces around the world. Any airfield, any military base, anywhere around the world is susceptible today to this type of attack. Now, in terms of what could be done to mitigate the damage, we have to look at the front lines in Ukraine and how are the two sides defending against these drones. And of course, there's the electronic warfare piece. You try to set up a bubble to where they can't get in.
It's hangars, right? The goal is to have as many assets as you can in hangars. Even if we have to have hangars with doors that are hangars that are literally like on the runway. So, because we always keep a certain amount of aircraft ready to scramble, right? So we put up hangars that are literally on there and the aircraft's in there. It's already done its test fire. It's already fueled. It's already got munitions. It's ready to go. All someone has to do is roll open a fucking door. Hangars.
At all. But if they do manage to break through that, and electronic warfare is not end all be all, it's one tool in the kit. We then have short-range weapons like shotguns that are being used to shoot these down, FPVs, and then we've got nets, protective nets, or fencing is kind of the last line of defense, and it works. We've seen drone nets pop up over key roads in eastern Ukraine to prevent drone strikes against vehicles that are traveling along common routes. It would not be the craziest thing in the world to set up some cheap netting over strategic air bases here in the United States or strategic locations, so even if those drones do make it through, they're not going to be able to... It's a simple thing, and all of a sudden the drones can't get...
I think a man could be a multimillionaire if he could set up an easily deployable, let's say you have a thing that's like a pod or even as large as a shipping container. It's self-contained. It's AI backed to where it can identify the difference between a drone and a bird at minimum. And it's a system you roll up and set out, right? And it has Have you guys ever seen the attack drones? Like drones used to net other drones? It has that on it and some fucking of those interrupter guns, like the jammer guns and the net guns set up in a system like a Connex. So let's say it identifies a drone, AI confirms it's a drone, it's got its own little radar system, right? And all it's looking for is drones. It don't give a fuck about planes. All it's looking for is drones. So it has its own radar to identify drones. It has cameras to where AI can say, yes, that's a drone, not a bird. And it autonomously warns somebody and launches drones. The 4 attack drones or whatever. And it begins to target with its jamming a frequency and the net guns. You set them up, set fucking 10 of them around an airfield. Boom. It's all in one. The Army likes simple systems like that. Like all in one, you just set it up and kind of forget it. Right? You train a guy to go out and service it, to check on it, make sure the batteries are good, make sure it's fueled up, whatever. But you don't have to spend the next year training somebody to operate it. But I think the technology's there, right? To identify it, make sure it's not a bird. We don't want the system going off all the time, fucking killing birds or netting birds. Make sure it's not a bird. You jam, you net, and you use attack drones.
Get through that net, right? For all the technology involved here, a simple net hanging over a trench line means the drone can't get all the way down to the target. That is the kind of thing we would need, and we would need it across, again, all of the strategic targets that could be identified in the United States.
Even a simpler solution. What about, sorry, I'm brainstorming here for my next $1 billion idea. Sorry, it's installing an update. What about, let me get paint.net and we'll talk about this. What about a deployable net system? What about a net that's never there, right? Until somebody hits the go button. Whether you saw it on radar, you saw a drone fly by, there was a scare, there was a report, somebody radioed it in. And it's like a hoops on wheels. Let's see, I'm not going to be able to say this. Let me see if I can draw it. You guys ever seen how we throw out Constantine wire? Basically big rolls of Constantine wire. You know what I'm talking about? They deploy out of like the back of trucks. You can stack them on top of each other, three deployments or whatever. 3 high, and you let them roll out of the back of trucks. What about, okay, let's try to brainstorm this, chat. Let's go up to about 9. Okay. Let's say we got a runway, right? And it's got parking for jets, like aircraft that had to be out there. And let's draw some lines down this to make sure it's like a road, like a runway. What if we have, like, at one end, okay, we have a almost like Quonset hut hoops at the end of the runway that are netting between them. Maybe, I don't know, 30 foot of netting between them. And they're on fucking wheels at each side. And this first one is powered. So it has like a track it runs in. These wheels run in. A set track. And this first one's powered. So a siren goes off to clear people out of the way. And this motherfucker just hauls ass at 20, 30 miles an hour. And just pulls net and other hoops every 30 feet or something. So it would end up looking like... when deployed... When deployed, it would end up looking like hoop here, hoop here, hoop here. and then netting between the hoops. And then this would be kind of open, right? Or it could even have like a drop net, right? So a netting that comes down on each end that just rolls off and drops at the end. This is going to be a big problem. I think we've seen it. So whoever solves this is going to have a lot of fucking money, especially if you solve it in a novel way that somebody can't recreate easily, and pitch it to the military. What about? All right, so we got our airplane. Oh, God. We got our airplane set here. What about for each airplane, we set out a device that can be triggered right here. That is literally like a U-shaped device with 2 arms. 3 or 4 arms, right? There's all these arms that are layered. And it's laying on the ground behind the airplane. And at the push of a button, one arm goes all the way over to the other side. And then the other arms stand up at angles and have netting stretched between them. So from the side, it would look like this, right? There's an arm here on the ground that goes to center. There's an arm here that goes to center. There's an arm here that goes to center. There's an arm here that goes to center. And netting stretched between them all. And the airplane's safely in that bubble. We usually don't store a 747 ready to fucking go on the flight line, though. We're talking about planes that can't be hangared, that need to be on the flight line, that need to be geared up and ready to go to scramble. How many fucking military bases you think got 747 sitting out there, fueled up, ready to go, off ground power and ready to scramble?
States and abroad. That is not a short fix. Or I guess all things considered, compared to some other options, it is relatively quick. But that's the kind of thing we need to get moving on now. This should be concerning for people across the U.S. government and for governments all around the world. Another key note here is that what we just watched was Ukraine take out Russian strategic aviation. These drones could hit any target, right? They could park at the Kremlin and just go after senior Russian officials as they exit for the day. They could park at a naval base and go after the naval vessels. They could park at a training facility and just hit every one of the military barracks. Think of the places that they could go and they could do to affect this. Think of how much damage could be done inside of the country if you just open up the back of a truck and, let's see, 4 locations, 170 drones, so 40 drones on or about, come flying out the back with explosive charges. Think of the damage, the devastation that could be done in so many places around the world with that capability. That is the thing that no doubt Russia is losing sleep over right now, and hopefully countries around the world are really paying attention. Nonetheless, we continue to wait for the Russian response. They continue to kind of talk a big game that something big is going to happen. Their mill bloggers are starting to get more and more frustrated, saying it will come. I think maybe it'll come as fast as I think it was fighter bomber said it'll come.
Well, then I'm thinking of multiple air bases, right? You go do U.S. Strategic Command. You come up with an idea for it. I didn't say it was going to fit every fucking goddamn plane in every air base in the world. I'm trying to come up with an idea that fits more than it doesn't. But you go take the couple outliers and you figure it out, okay?
Fall of capitalism and the objectives being reached of the special military operation.
God damn.
His way of saying, why on earth is this thing that was promised not actually happening? Nonetheless, we are still expecting probably a pretty significant response from Russia to this attack, and then, of course, the one yesterday against the Kerch Bridge. But that's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
The bridge was a big deal as well. I wonder if this guy's got any different footage. This is Cappy.
Multi-million-dollar irreplaceable Russian strategic bombers were left naked and exposed with no overhead protection. Exactly how many aircraft were actually destroyed?
Seems like the same footage.
New satellite and radar image evidence. How intelligence operatives pulled off this historic Ocean's 11 style attack.
I think somebody sent this to me, didn't you?
Russian forces might respond. I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy. I create weekly videos about war, weapon systems, and geopolitics. So let's jump right into it, you guys. Way back in December 2023, the Ukrainian military intelligence hatched a plan to target Russia's strategic bomber fleet has been firing conventional missiles at their cities for years now. But there was a huge challenge standing in their way. These valuable aircraft take off from remote airfields located over 4,000 miles or 6,000 kilometers away, which is far outside the range of Ukraine's attack drones. So they came up with a solution. Take a look at this picture here that Ukrainian SBU agents released after the attack. It shows the location of the warehouse inside Russia where they stockpiled the drones.
I think we could definitely come up with something for the fighters that are sitting there Damn, strategic bombers are just a big fucking target, though. The fighters that are sitting there ready to scramble, I guarantee we could come up with something.
Drones and explosives. Russian FSB security agents have since geolocated it using open source markers. It was in Chelyabinsk, which is right near the border with Kazakhstan. This indicates to me that the drones were smuggled through the international border here.
Air Force One is going to have its own fucking problems. 747s, gigantic fucking planes, going to have their own fucking problems. Maybe even I guess we could do, it doesn't even have to be a netting, right? If a, hold on. What we need is if the answer is hangars, then what we need is a quick deployable, like, mobile hangar. It doesn't have to be netting. It could be something like this that can deploy quickly. Right, like a big tent style hangar. Have these where they fucking slide together. And then where they can you can pull them out, right? And force it or motorize it, right, in case there's nobody there.
Which would make sense because Kazakhstan has long been a smuggling route for products that the West have sanctioned since then and not allowed to go into Russia. You guys, this part is nuts. During the course of the 18-month-long Operation Spiderweb, Ukrainian SBU agents successfully smuggled across the border about 140 first-person view kamikaze drones. Now, as someone who's been smuggled across the border into Russian territory before, I can confirm this is not an easy feat. These undercover agents prepared special wooden boxes with dozens of drones under remote-controlled hatches that would blow open with a signal. They then placed shipment orders through an elaborate system of shell corporations and dummy contracts, which sent unwitting Russian civilian truck drivers right past target air bases on the same exact time on the same exact day. On the morning of June 1st, as the trucks stopped at gas stations, restaurants, or simply drove down the highway, they deployed swarms of hidden FPV drones. Some of the locals and truck drivers actually noticed what was happening. They climbed on top of the containers to try to stop the drones, but it was too late. The trap had already been sprung. One truck driver who was interviewed by...
I don't know if that's true anymore. Hold on. We'll ask AI. The New START Treaty does not require nuclear bombers to be left in the open. However, it does include provisions for verification, which may involve inspections and data exchanges, including the possibility of inspections of converted or reoriented heavy bombers. The treaty places limits on the number of deployed and non-deployed heavy bombers, and these limits are subject to verification through inspections and data exchanges. Are you saying that they have to be out right so like a satellite could verify it? The treaty also allows for the conversion of bombers to conventional use with specific provisions for inspections and exhibitions to demonstrate the differences between nuclear and conventional bomber configurations. Let's see. Can we dive into this more? Sets for procedures for elimination of fixed structures for mobile launchers, ICBMs, which are defined. Eliminate facilities continue to be listed in the database as formally declared facilities. Facilities eliminated in accordance with section may be used for purpose non-consistent. Other means for removal. Sorry, I'm skimming the treaty. Hold on. Elimination of heavy bombers. Conversion of elimination of heavy bombers. This is about elimination. Shit, I'm in the wrong spot. That's not it. So let's do this. The treaty contains detailed procedures for the implementation and verification of central limits of strategic offensive arms discussed above and all treaty obligations. On-site inspections. The treaty provides for 18 on-site inspections per year for U.S. and Russian inspection teams. The Type 1 inspections focus on sites where deployed and non-deployed strategic systems, up to 10 per year. Type 2 inspections focuses on sites with only non-deployed strategic systems, up to 8 per year. Permitted inspection activities include confirming the number of reentry vehicles on one deployed ICBM or SLBM per Type 1 inspection, counting nuclear weapons on board or attached to deployed heavy bombers, counting numbers of non-deployed ICBMs, and SLBMs. Confirming weapon systems conversions or eliminations are conducted in the way proposed, and confirming facility eliminations. I don't know. I don't know. I just Googled it.
By Russian state media later, RIA Novosti, the publication, they said, quote, they were in the back of the truck and we threw stones to keep them from flying up, to keep them pinned down, end quote. All the Russian truck drivers have since told similar stories of being booked by businessmen who requested they deliver the wooden cabins to different locations around Russia. Kids, you know the lesson here, right? Watch out for strange businessmen asking you to drive near air bases. According to a Telegram channel with links to Russia.
I can understand like that why that might be right. Right, they don't want us building hundreds of them and hiding them somewhere. I just don't know. You're probably right, though.
State security services called Baza. Some of the drivers said they received further instructions of where exactly to park the trucks. As soon as they followed those directions, they were shocked to see drones flying out of them. I mean, I know hindsight is 20/20 here, you guys, but it sounds like a real suspicious job to me. Privately booked to drive a weird wooden cabin to the middle of nowhere, Russia, at a very specific time, date, and place. Or I don't know, maybe that's a normal Tuesday in Russia. The attack drones flew a few kilometers.
The START treaty, which is still active until February of 26. One of the requirements was to keep your bombers like that, B-52s, B-2s, and Russian equivalents in the open. It was that way on purpose, not so someone could attack them. Quite the opposite, and yet we did. That's coming from a colonel who posted on this on Reddit. But I guess you could use netting, right? You can still see it. I don't know.
To their targets, and video evidence shows them slamming into multiple Russian aircraft. This might be one of the most lower enlisted private things I've ever seen. I stumbled across this video of a Russian soldier doing a live stream, selfie-style self-report on the battle damage. War Thunder forums leaking information will never have anything on soldiers looking for clout. The Ukrainian drone operators had direct control over the FPV drones, it appears like, once they were deployed. National security author Dmitry Apevryelch said on X that he believes that they used Russia's own 4G LTE mobile cell network to pilot these drones. Can you hear me now? And it could have been done from outside Russia. This was a weakness in their air defense they exploited because Russian Air Force probably didn't want to jam the entire cell network for the whole civilians living in that area of those air bases. So Ukraine successfully hit 4 air bases, and they targeted a 5th even further east in Amur Oblast that borders China. But that truck caught fire before reaching the deployment zone. It's like my old squad leader used to always say. Ain't no warfare like partisan warfare. Once the Trojan trucks, as they're being called, were on their way, the Ukrainian agents safely slipped out of Russian territory before all chaos was about to be unleashed. Let's do some of what's called BDA in the military, or battle damage assessment, because I've heard a wild range of how many aircraft were actually hit. You got Russia saying, oh, barely any. You got Ukraine saying, oh, tons of them. So what is the actual truth? Thanks to satellite and radar being accessible by civilians and jamooks like myself, we can actually confirm a lot of what happened now that the dust has settled a few days later. The Times dropped a couple of $1,000 to get access to these radar images and confirmed 7 Russian strategic bombers appear to be destroyed at the Bela Air Base, and the ONLY had 5 confirmed hits from the video footage released. I apologize if I'm pronouncing these names incorrectly. I am not a Slav.
You guys keep watching this. I'm reading the START treaty now.
Mill bloggers themselves claim the losses are less at 12 strategic bombers and 1 other aircraft, likely a giant transport. So Ukrainian intelligence, SBU, and the government in Ukraine reported that up to 41 bombers had been destroyed. Then on the afternoon of June 4th, the Ukrainian government released video evidence proof of the drones striking 24 aircraft, strategic bombers, 2 of which were the very valuable A-50 radar aircraft that cost about $300 million a pop, blinding one of the Russian armed forces' best eyes in the sky. The Soviets only built around 40 of them, of which 6 were operational in the Russian fleet as of March 2025, which means that now they're down to 4. This is a very critical asset for them for finding targets and also protecting their other aircraft. The reason Russia puts vehicle tires, rubber tires on top of the bombers like you see there, it's their attempt to try to fool artificial intelligence systems that rely on image matching, and they want to fool them into thinking that's not an aircraft that they're looking at. So if a missile or an AI-driven drone has its camera look over there, then it might not think that it's an aircraft. I guess that explains why I've been seeing so many image capture tests that look like this recently. Since the Russian defense industry can't produce these aircraft anymore due to the production lines being shut down decades ago, these are some actually irreplaceable aircraft. This allegedly has cost the Russian military somewhere between $2 and $7 billion worth of damage. Ukrainian government claims they're going to release more video evidence of strikes on strategic bombers, but we don't know if it's going to add up from the 24 up to the 41 that they claim they've hit. The big question that jumped out to me was, why were these Russian bombers left seemingly unprotected without even a net or any kind of overhead protection? Can't someone build a warehouse or a tarp around these things? I mean, can't we be bothered to just put a net over them? There are several reasons for this. One of them possibly has to do with an arms control treaty, the strategic arms reduction treaties between the United States and the USSR, in particular START 1 from the good old year of 1991. It's a successor to the new START treaty from 2010.
I mean, he's going to talk about it while I'm reading it.
Transparency of strategic
Inception
systems. If I can count your bombers from space, I know you're not hiding extras or prepping for a surprise first strike, which meant heavy bombers were required to be visible by satellite reconnaissance and stationed in open view when not actively flying. No hangars or hardened shelters were allowed for this asset. You see, America does the same thing. It's why their B-2 bombers are on full display for satellite imagery at Diego Garcia Air Base, and it reduced risk of accidental nuclear war. However, fast forward, and it also means that they're vulnerable to drone attacks. Now, you might point out that Russia has suspended their participation in the New START treaty in February 2023, so they aren't bound to it anymore. And the U.S. is no longer bound to it either. But there's also the feeling that geography was a protection on its own in February nuclear war. However, fast forward, and it also means that they're vulnerable to drone attacks. Now, you might point out that Russia has suspended their participation in the New START treaty in February 2023, so they aren't bound to it anymore. And the U.S. is no longer bound to it either. But there's also the feeling that geography was a protection all of its own, and that these remote locations are safe from attack. Over the past 3 years, Russia has moved some of these bombers away from air bases near Ukraine's border in an attempt to avoid exactly this kind of sabotage from happening. So there didn't seem to be a huge incentive to start covering up bombers with giant construction projects if it didn't seem necessary. But apparently, in hindsight, it was necessary. Even if it's only 10 strategic bombers, that would amount to a devastating loss. And you might say, well, they only lost a dozen bombers, they still have like 60 or so more, but that's not exactly an accurate way of thinking about it, because oftentimes you need your bombers resting, refitting, being repaired. These assets are on what's called a rotational readiness model. So availability is never 100%. So usually a third of the fleet can be expected to be active, then another third is going to be in refit, another 20% might be just temporarily grounded for deep refit. It's a strategic loss because Russia lost their ability to address a multi-front war as easily. The air leg of their nuclear triad might not have been completely broken, but it may have been destabilized. So why are these bombers so important? Quickly, I think I need to put into context for us all the gravity of what just happened. Only 3 countries on planet Earth operate a long-range strategic bomber fleet: the United States, China, and Russia. These are the most expensive and powerful weapons and the means to deliver them that humanity has ever produced. Ukraine targeted Russia's Tu-95, Tu-22M3 bombers, the primary strategic strike platforms for both nuclear and conventional cruise missiles. They can fire nuclear weapons 5,000 kilometers after flying a max range of 15,000 kilometers. That's what makes them so special. These bombers have been used in the past by Russia to conduct attacks inside Syria, which at one point did help them turn the tide of that war. These bombers are often seen on show-of-force runs throughout the Arctic region. They often harass American pilots near Guam, Alaska, and near the border of NATO countries around the Baltic. You've probably seen footage of their fighter jet escort pilots buzzing American pilots.
So it does seem that, they renewed it in 2021 and 2023, Russia, the suspension of their participation in it. Russia was in violation of the START. The suspension of START further contributes to the demise of arms control.
Pilots,
which is what he just said.
Kind of probing missions with the strategic asset of these bombers. It's the tools with which great powers prod at one another, and now Russia's ability to prod at one another or project power has been severely damaged. What will the Russian government and military response be? The Russian state media has so far reported that the U.S. wasn't involved in planning of the attack. Whew, big sigh of relief that they're saying that. This would certainly be reason for concern for us if they were saying otherwise, or at least officially. So far from what I've seen, the official Russian government response has been an attempt to minimize the attack. However, if we look at the Russian mill blogger community, which is very influential in Russia, they have been furious, with a lot of them famously calling it Russia's Pearl Harbor. A Russian war blogger, Roman Alkin, wrote on Telegram, "We hope that the response will be the same as the U.S. response to the attack on their Pearl Harbor, or even tougher." What even? The historical analogy is pretty weak here, in my opinion. Whether you are for Russia or against Russia, I mean, Pearl Harbor was a surprise attack by Japan before a formal declaration of war. Not to litigate this point too much, but at the very least, these two countries have been furious, with a lot of them famously calling it Russia's Pearl Harbor. A Russian war blogger, Roman Alkin.
Russia's Pearl Harbor. I don't know that I like that as much. We weren't in a war at all during Pearl Harbor.
Wrote on Telegram, "We hope that the response will be the same as the U.S. response to the attack on their Pearl Harbor, or even tougher." What even? The historical analogy is pretty weak here, in my opinion. Whether you are for Russia or against Russia, I mean, Pearl Harbor was a surprise attack by Japan before a formal declaration of war. Not to litigate this point too much, but at the very least, these two countries have been going at it at war for years now. This is nothing like Pearl Harbor. Russia has it in their nuclear doctrine that if their strategic delivery systems are attacked, they might reach that threshold for a nuclear retaliation. It's a possibility. However, it's unclear if this attack would invoke that kind of response, and it seems unlikely due to the fact that it would incur the wrath of many other countries. Former Ukrainian officer and open source analyst Tatarigami said, quote, "Notably, Ukrainian strikes appear to have deliberately avoided the more modern and nuclear-capable Tu-160 bombers, instead targeting the Tu-95 and Tu-22M3 platforms. We believe this selectively was a deliberate decision to avoid escalations by targeting key elements of Russia's nuclear triad, while still degrading assets actively involved in conventional strikes. There were even early reports that a Russian nuclear subbase near Murmansk was hit, although it now appears like later on it turned out that maybe those reports were false. But this shows just how much panic and confusion has been spreading throughout Russia. It reminds me of the beeper attack that the Mossad conducted against Hezbollah agents, and it reminds me of the threat analysis reports that I've read recently about how civilian container ships on floating water could be turned into hidden drone or missile silos against American bases by China or Iran. I thought all of this is an emerging type of warfare that I would call remote hybrid.
Was that a skip?
Drone or missile silos against American bases by China or Iran. I thought all of this is an emerging type of warfare that I would call remote hybrid sabotage. So this attack has changed how we will think about warfare, I think. It will change how we in America will seek to protect our vulnerable strategic bombers. It'll change how we think about rear bases that we took for granted were safe and sound. I mean, on the real, if you drive a truck in America, forget about stopping anywhere near air bases without getting pulled over now. It's one of those events that will be studied in military history years from now. And obvious lesson to me is that point defense is necessary everywhere now. If you want to see all sources and show notes for this episode, to follow along with the research, just go to cappyarmy.com. If you're like me, you're thinking Russian soldiers should have had better counter-drone weapons. The U.S. Army's thinking the same exact thing. Check out the last video I made about the U.S. Army's new 30mm airburst grenade gun. I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy, ending this transmission now.
Cappy's. Cappy's usually got a pretty good take on it. Reminder, this is from the Brandon Dilley, from the Dilley meme team guys. It says, reminder, Elon Musk is the shrewdest businessman on the planet. So shrewd that if he had his way, he'd have balanced the budget in a single year and cancel every government program that regular Americans rely on for survival. Nuance and compromise are not his strengths. This is a phenomenal gift if you're leading a private business, and horrifically bad combination when trying to lead people politically without destroying their lives. Elon is a cold, shrewd, unapologetic technocrat who genuinely wants to do good, but he's also obtuse in his expectations of how decisions impact regular Americans. So they're trying to say, oh, no, Elon, this bill's good. We got to protect the lower and middle class, but it doesn't do shit for the lower and middle class. That's what this one is. So Elon says, absolutely. He's responding to Thomas Massey that says, this big, beautiful bill is a debt bomb ticking. It's also the biggest missed opportunity conservatives that ever had to put our country back on a track of fiscal sanity. If we defeat this bill, a better one can be offered that won't bankrupt our country. And Elon says, absolutely. Rising Phoenix, who used to be a fan of this show a long time ago, it says, you are out of touch with the middle and lower class. They need this bill. Be specific. What is wrong with it? And someone responds and says, you need to do some serious research because this bill will absolutely destroy the lower class and harm the middle class. Voting no throws us to the wolves. We have a leaden cure for wolves, a leaden cure for wolves. This hurts them the most, jackass. Elon says, call your senator, call your congressman. Bankrupting America is not okay. I don't know why that looked so weird. I thought it said old, but it does you see that okay and how it could be old? Is that just me? Am I freaking out? It looks like some of the ink was missing in the printer and it printed old, but it's okay with an exclamation point. Kill the bill. Rising Phoenix says, Elon is entitled to his opinion and analysis as much as anyone. I am forever grateful for what he did to save our country and open people's eyes to the deep corruption via Doge. But I will still #trust Trump until he gives me a reason not to. They're fucking brainwashed, dude. Even Elon can't pull them out. Even #trust Trump. Dude, if I ever start going on social media and put #trust this politician, will someone please kill me? Please? MSN. Trump says Putin told him in phone call he will respond to Ukraine's weekend drone attacks. He had the perfect opportunity to say, I told him, let's not hit civilian targets, something. Russian President Vladimir Putin told U.S. President Donald Trump in a phone call Wednesday that Moscow was obligated to respond to Ukraine's weekend drone attack. Trump said, setting up a potential escalation in the conflict just as the U.S. president hopes to broker an end to the war. The leaders' conversation was their second time speaking in a matter of weeks. Trump, who announced the call afterward in a post to Truth Social, made no mention of applying pressure on the Russian leader to agree to a ceasefire or to calibrate his reprisal from Ukraine's audacious drone attack on. He could have said, and I made sure to let him know that we do not condone like civilian deaths or whatever. They did military attacks with no civilian casualties. You need to respond in kind. Whatever. Yeah, Rising Phoenix. I don't know. They one of the mods and Rising were close. They all used to be big. If you've been around for a while, you would know. Obviously, they all left when I started building slowly going anti-Trump. They're fucking out of here, dude. Instead, Trump acknowledged a 75-minute conversation would not yield an immediate end of the war in Ukraine. We discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes by Ukraine and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides, Trump wrote in a Truth Social post. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attacks on the airfields, he went on. In the comments on the Trump-Putin call, Kremlin aide Ushakov said the topic of Ukraine's raid on the airfields was also touched upon, but also Ushakov did not say if Putin said he would respond to those attacks. Trump's matter-of-fact description of the call offered little evidence of advancement in his attempts to end the war. Ukrainian lawmaker Merzko told CNN's Jim Sciutta. I know I've heard this guy's name before. Sciutta? He feared Trump was tactically approving Russia's retaliation. I think so. If he's not saying, hey, like the goal here is peace, like, hey, easy, no casual, like military target, like something, then he's basically giving the nod saying, yeah, I know you got to fuck them up now. If they touched your planes, you got to fuck them up. President Trump didn't say something like, Vladimir, stop. And it's very worrisome because it might look like he is giving a green light to his new crime, which Putin is trying to commit. Trump said last week he would be able to determine within 2 weeks whether Putin was serious about negotiating a ceasefire, but has said little about how he'd make that assessment. Meanwhile, there's been increasing pressure on Trump to levy additional sanctions against Russia, which he has so far resisted. What do you think the chances are? What do you think the chances are if Ukraine would have given Trump prior knowledge of this attacks that Russia would have found out about them before it happened? Ushakov said Putin briefed Trump on the latest round of talks Wednesday. Trump has taken credit for bringing the two sides together face to face. As we emphasized, Ukraine tried to disrupt these negotiations by carrying out, on the direct orders of Kiev, regime targeted attacks on purely civilian targets, on the peaceful population. Where? Show me where Ukraine is purely attacking civilian targets. The leaders agreed to continue further contacts on the Ukrainian issue, including at the highest level and at other levels through other channels. Neither Trump nor the White House have publicly reacted to the weekend drone attacks beyond saying Ukrainian officials hadn't informed them of the planned assault ahead of time. Previously, Trump had lashed out at Putin after Russian aerial assaults on Ukrainian cities. I'm not saying that Ukraine never messes up and there's not civilian casualties. There are. They don't do like Russia does and target a fucking city, right? They're not purely going after a city center and then saying, oh, well, there was enemies in there. Russia's doing some fucked up things, but it is what it is. You're never going to get that out of Trump. And then if he needs a scapegoat, he'll just say, well, I can't make them mad. I'm trying to talk about peace. Russia's one of the only countries in the world that didn't get a fucking tariff on Liberation Day. What does that tell you? I think he wants to work with Putin on Iran. I don't think he's going to get pressure. Putin right now is getting weapon systems for the Ukrainian war from Iran. How much pressure do you think he's willing to put on Iran for a nuclear deal, Putin, while he's getting his weapon systems and training and soldiers from Iran? Right? Like that seems kind of a fucking stretch. All their drones and shit are coming from Iran. Like, what the fuck? Sure. I think Putin is very good at playing Trump. He is very good at playing Trump. And Trump just falls for it because he's an idiot. I don't know what to say. He's an idiot. Even Steve Bannon is like, hey, we gotta tax the wealthy. Steve fucking Bannon.
Want to stop?
You guys know how fucking big this is?
Elon.
Steve Bannon is like, hey, if you want to stop the debt bomb that's going on, adding trillions to the debt, you gotta take away the tax breaks for the rich.
Want to stop the debt bomb, Elon, and the guys on Capitol Hill? You're going to have to raise taxes. The wealthy can't get an extension of the tax cut.
The Trump tax cut should expire. And I know that's probably not super popular. They should expire. Yes, me and you are probably going to have to pay, I don't know, what, $50, $60 more a month in taxes, technically? That sucks, right? That sucks. I would gladly do it to fund all the fucking programs that are supposed to exist, the social safety net, and stop doing this. We got to cut these people off and those people off, and these people will die, and those people can't get health insurance, and we're reducing the minor age for food stamps to 7. Like, what the fuck? It's not going to affect most of us that much. It's going to be like a nominal amount you won't even know about, if anything. We need to tax the wealthy and not push these. It's fucking $4 trillion, dude.
That's got to go to the middle class and the working class.
I certainly did not having agreeing with Steve Bannon on my
working class. That's got to go to the middle. The wealthy can't get an extension of the tax cut. That's got to go to the middle class and the working class.
We could have our tax cut 100%. We could have all of our tax cut. And if they just didn't give it to the upper fucking 10%, it would still cut off trillions and trillions of dollars and fund it all. We know how to fund the government. The problem is the Republicans want to say, we can't afford this. Fuck those people. Those people don't need food. Those people don't need Medicare. Those people don't need fucking insurance. These people don't need their after-school program. These people don't need this, that we don't need to fund this STEM school. And we don't have money for any of that. And also, we're giving trillions of dollars in tax cuts to the billionaires.
I certainly did not having agreeing with Steve Bannon on my bingo card today. Not a chance. But he is absolutely right. This entire situation that this country is in with the debt is because of over 40 years of continuous tax cuts to the rich, hoping that money will trickle back down to the people. And it hasn't. It hasn't done it in over 40 years. I don't know why they think it would do it now. But if we're being honest, they don't think it would do it now. This is simply another grift or another gift for them and their buddies. This is why you don't put billionaires in office. This is not complicated. We have conceded an unimaginable amount of power and control to the rich and the corporations in this country. And here we are, and this whole country is one day in the future facing bankruptcy because of that. But it won't matter because the rich will still be rich regardless of what happens to the country. That's what the people don't get, especially the people that vote for these clowns. And people will say, oh, well, taxing the rich won't solve the problem. No, but you know what? We also have a spending problem.
It's a goddamn good start. Taxing the rich is a goddamn good start. Not extending tax cuts when we're also complaining about not having enough money for basic fucking subsidies is a good fucking start.
Born from. Where's the spending? Where are we spending money? Huge government contracts to billionaire government contractors. They're on both sides of the equation. Stop lining their pockets with contracts and then giving them huge tax breaks so they don't have to pay taxes with the very money they made from the government with their huge contracts. There is no other way to say it other than that the rich in this country are looting the U.S. Treasury and the government, not just through taxes, but they're making their money off the government too, which is our tax dollars. And they will say, oh, well, tax cuts for the rich, that shouldn't count as a spend. That shouldn't count in loss in revenue. It's a subsidy. If it shouldn't count for the rich, then why does it count as savings when you cut subsidies and programs for poor people? You cannot change the definition of what these things are based on the value or how you value the people who are receiving them. And that is exactly what the Republican Party does in this country. We can't consider that tax cuts for the rich would cost us any money, but we can certainly consider the fact that, home heating assistance for the poor, that's going to cost us money. They're both a subsidy. They are both a subsidy. And no, nobody thinks we're going to fix the national debt problem simply.
How many kids are going to be cold and how many people might die from the LEAP program that helps pay people's fucking heating in the winter?
by taxing the rich. No. But it is 100% part of the solution. Get the money out of politics. Stop letting the rich decide who gets to run the country. They won't stop until they have everything. Everything. Thanks.
I tweeted at Elon today and encourage you to do the same thing if you're on Twitter. Tag at Elon Musk and ask him when you can expect your Doge check, right? $5,000, $2,000, $1,000, whatever it is. When can we expect that check? I'm going to need it to get through this because all the subsidies are cut. I'm probably going to need it to survive, right? To buy groceries, something. What is this fucking announcement from T-Pain? It says, I gave you all everything for 20 years. I'm grateful to each one of you for making such a great ride. Right now, I just need some time to think about what's next and what's best for me. Weird. Been at this for 20 years. I'm talking it over with my family and team. Is he leaving the internet? He does a lot of cool stuff separately. Like he has drift cars. He likes to race and does a lot of things outside of rap. The Masked Singer. Got a big decision to make. This might be it. He's going dark, boys. T-Pain. Who cares? He's getting his tax break. Fuck. This right here is embarrassing. Embarrassing.
The president has surrounded himself with what he calls the best people, also his words, not mine, who are out there filling the void. People like former WWE wrestling executive Linda McMahon, who...
Linda McMahon is probably the dumbest fucking person we've ever tried to put in charge of the Department of Education.
Trump inexplicably put in charge of the Department of Education. It's quite an assignment for her. Secretary McMahon, of course, testified before the Senate today, and Republican senators kind of did their level best to lob her softball questions and make it look like she kind of knows what she's doing. I mean, here was...
Like, I don't think they understand the whole Republican premise for the Department of Education going away is that, like, in the 70s and 80s, we were number one in math and science. And now we're dead last, or whatever Trump says.
Here was Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen.
These are softball questions.
Trying to tee her up for an easy one.
What was we ranked in reading and math in 1979?
What was we ranked in reading and math in 1979? Even though he didn't phrase it correctly. What was we ranked in math and reading in 1979? This is a softball. You should say we were number one. What does she say?
I'm sorry, what? What was we ranked nationally in math and
he doesn't mean nationally either. He means globally, I'm assuming.
In reading in 1979?
We were very, very low on the totem pole.
Or number one?
Very, very low on the totem pole. We were very, very low on the totem pole.
In math and reading in 1979?
We were very, very low on the totem pole.
Or number one in 1979?
We were
number one.
very, very low on the totem pole. Actually, we were number one. Very awkward. That's Secretary of Education, everyone. Now, in her limited defense, Senator Mullen's question was garbled nonsense. I mean, set aside the strange verb conjugation about what we was, which ranked, which, by the way, maybe that's confirmation that our education system...
What we was ranked.
...needs help. He asked her how the U.S. ranked nationally when he clearly meant globally. So clearly neither of these...
Nationally, the U.S. is the best education system in the nation.
People are getting an A in reading comprehension or, frankly, grammar today. What about math?
We spend $1.858 billion a year on TRIO.
1.85 billion.
Yes. That's $1,580 million a year. So my math right?
1,000 million.
I
think that's right, sir.
And how long have we been spending $1,580 million a year on this program? More than 10 years?
Yes.
So that's over $1 trillion.
So 1.8 billion times 10 is not a trillion. It'd be 18 billion.
Okay. I understand that we was not ranked number 1 in math recently either, but something there seems off, right? Don't have to be a mathematician. Maybe there's a Democrat on this committee who can help them out a little bit.
Madam Secretary, and I'm not a great mathematician, but I think you were talking about $1 trillion. I believe 1.5 billion times 10 is $15 billion. That's a little bit off from $1 trillion. But
I think the budget cuts $1.2 billion.
I think the budget cuts 1.2 billion for a trillion.
Well, 1.2, that would be $12 billion, not $1 trillion.
That'd be 12 billion. 1.2 times 10 would be 12.
Okay.
Okay, I take your word for it. I'm not a mathologist. I just take your word for it. Okay.
That's a little bit off from $1 trillion. But
I think the budget cuts $1.2 billion.
Well, 1.2, that would be $12 billion, not $1 trillion.
Okay.
Okay.
I just take your word for it. Okay. You want to hear the song that's been stuck in my head for like a goddamn month? You're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. Here we go.
Pull the panties off on the dance floor. I ain't got no panties on. Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on.
On the dance floor.
I ain't got no panties on. Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on.
On the dance floor. Did you get all that? One more time. Oh, that's not the same song? She always dances that song.
Surrounded himself with what he called.
It wasn't the same one. We fucked it up. We fucked it up. We fucked it up. Now we gotta start over.
Pull the panties off on the dance floor.
I ain't got no panties on. Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on. On the dance floor.
I ain't got no panties on.
Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on. On the dance floor.
Pull the panties off on the dance floor.
I ain't got no panties on. Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on. On the dance floor. I ain't got no panties on. Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on. On the dance floor.
Pull the panties off on.
I hope it's stuck in your head now too. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Sarasota, get the fuck out of here. I ain't got no panties on. Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on a dance floor. I ain't got no panties on. Ain't got no panties on. I ain't got no panties on a dance floor. Scott Rogers never has panties on. What do you mean? That is his version.
Of the possible suspension of habeas corpus.
I don't know what this is, but we're about to say it.
So in the dizzying run-up to this big announcement of the possible suspension of habeas corpus, or maybe the appointment of another Fox News star, or the naked bribery of our highest elected officials, none of those were Trump's big announcement.
President Trump just announced that prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced by 30 to 80%.
Oh, this is where I know what this is. He's like, I got a fat friend who takes the shot, the fat shot, and he was over in Germany saying, hey, I got it over here for like $3. It's $900 back home or some shit like that.
Immediately. This appears to be the major announcement that the president has been teasing for days.
I am having wanted that for years. Pharma has exploited the American consumer while we have in turn subsidized their whole industry with tax incentives and direct funds. I like this. But without getting into the weeds, explain this thing that I've wanted for a very long time, like I'm incredibly dumb.
Drug prices will come down. We're getting them down 60, 70, 80, 90%.
but actually more than that if you think about it in the way mathematically.
I heard Trump say that he was going to restore historically, that he was going to bring back American steel like historically it was used in the backbone of the U.S. like never seen before. How can something be historically like never seen before? I probably watched that clip like 100 times this morning when I first woke up. I thought I was missing something.
If you think about it mathematically, I want to brag, but I often think about numbers mathematically. How is this going to work?
The rest of the world's going to have to pay a little bit more, and America's going to pay a lot less. Basically, what we're doing is equalizing. There's a new word that I came up with, which I think is probably the best word. We're going to.
I got this brand new word I just came up with, equalizing. I know you guys are still hung up on that old-fashioned word I use, groceries. This is a brand new one. This is new-fashioned, okay? Historically used like never seen before, equalizing.
Equalize.
Europe, Eureka, Euclid. Yeah, here it is. Equalize. I thought it sounded familiar. Look. He's trying to kill us all. Look, I would like to think that the tenacious pleadings of progressive...
I wish Jon Stewart would run for office, not president. I wish he'd run for Congress.
Leaders like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders helped make this possible.
We are sick and tired of paying by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs.
I'm going to attack the prices on commonly used drugs. Put a cap on the cost of insulin, a cap on the cost of prescription drugs.
And not one of those child caps that you can't. I have diarrhea. What's happening? Unfortunately, it turns out credit for the biggest, most important announcement in the history of this presidency goes to someone else.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him.
Fat.
Highly neurotic, brilliant businessman.
Fat. He's fat.
Overweight.
Very neurotic, brilliant businessman. Seriously overweight, though.
That took a turn. Top guy, brilliant. You know him, famous, bit of a chubs. Anyway, I'm sure public press coverage is a rough way for this guy to find out that he is saved in Trump's phone as neurotic fat friend. But what else can you tell us about this friend who's a very famous, successful businessman?
A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug.
The fat shot drug. What is wrong with this guy? Like, who listens to that and thinks, hell yeah, that's my president?
Fat shot? Do you read any of your briefings? He takes the fat shot. You know, the fat shot. I got another friend, brilliant, real estate mogul. He takes the dick stiff pills. This guy takes the fat shot. This guy takes the dick stiff pills. I'm sorry, continue the story about this fat of a friend of yours.
And he called me up and he said, President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working.
What is this, a roast, dude? What is this?
Yo, Rickles, that is ice cold. Your friend is like opening up, like, oh, I took this bad drug. He's like, he's not worried. He's like, I'm trying. This poor guy. He's just catching strays in the middle of a presidential press conference. Trump's talking about drug pricing reform, and he's like, hey, when this guy goes to the hospital, the nurse gives him 50 cc's of Crisco. He's fat. Very successful. Went to London, and when they saw him, they changed the name of Big Ben to just Ben, because this guy's fat. He's a fat piece of shit, this guy. Back to life-saving drug pricing. Again, President Trump, what does any of this have to do with pricing?
He said, I just paid $88, and in New York I paid $1,300. What the hell is going on? He said, so I checked, and it's the same box, made in the same plant, by the same company. It's the identical pill. This is a great businessman, but he's not.
Wait, it was a shot. It's a shot. What do you mean And this fat fuck have the nerve to call me.
Familiar with this crazy situation that we have, but he was stunned.
Yeah, he was as stunned as he is fat. I mean, By the way, I don't know if anybody realized, but the fat shot somehow turned into a fat pill in the middle of the story. That's how you know the story is true.
Then he had to get off the phone. He was making his order at McDonald's. Fat fuck.
Whether the story is true or not, Donald Trump's point is, if you find yourself in the socialized healthcare systems of London and you want to run out and get some Ozempic...
It's almost like they've figured out their healthcare system better than we have.
Fish and chips, don't bother, because his fat of a friend ate them all like a pot of orcas on a tuna bender. So in the dizzying run-up to this big announcement...
God damn. God damn. Wouldn't you love to be Trump's friend? Wouldn't you love to be Trump's friend?
Tonight, Donald Trump decided to basically bring back one of the most controversial policies from his first term, from very early in his first term. Tonight, the president announced he's banning travel from 12 countries: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. He also partially restricted travel from 7 more countries. And all of this is an echo of the travel ban he
Burundi.
First term, one that sparked understandable nationwide protests and a series of court challenges. This is also exactly the kind of provocative action.
Do you think they do you think they want us to lose our shit? You think they're waiting for like everybody's food stamps to be cut off and all the programs to be decimated and all this, and he just read it? Do you think they want us to lose our shit? So they can show up like this? Look how they showed up to arrest some illegals at an Italian restaurant. What the fuck is this? Like a goddamn Fallujah. Full battle rattle, armored vehicles. Wait till you see the Exfil team. It's insane.
Fucking door, you loser! Get the fuck out of here! Fuck out of
Pieces of shit!
Look at this. Look at this response team.
Cowards! Right here, you fucking piece of fuck out!
Look at him getting this van. Who the fuck shows up like this to arrest, a handful of illegals? What did they tell them they were going to be facing? There were days I didn't wear this much gear in Iraq, dude.
Get the fuck out! Get the
Hide that shit in the truck. Be up in the goddamn turret not wearing shit because it was hot as balls.
fuck out! Get the fuck out of our town, you stupid pieces of shit! You Nazi cowards! Cowards! Right here, you fucking pieces of shit! Fuck you!
They just went in this restaurant, basically arrested everybody in there, and then went to sort them out to see if they were illegals off-site.
Right here!
It's hard, isn't it, huh? Trying to kidnap people. It's fucking hard.
Fuck, we'll do a GoFundMe for you. You refuse to fucking serve.
Trump's quota. That's right. That's right.
This is how the people feel. You looking at it?
HSI's Homeland Security Investigations.
Police has just raided a San Diego Italian restaurant. Here's a photo from the scene.
Look at this. What were they coming to do, dude?
Before eventually coming in and arresting 90% of the staff. According to a special agent with DHS, they told NPR that they were executing a criminal search warrant of the restaurant, aka a workplace raid. Eyewitnesses said that they arrested about 90% of the staff, letting a decent amount of them go, but then detained some more. And as we start looking at the videos that came out, you saw trucks come up, a loud bang, smoke kind of came out, and then we saw the agent.
They use like these, I don't know if I want to call them flashbangs, but sort of like low output flashbangs. They're kind of like, they're just like poppers, right? They're not meant as concussion grenades. They're not meant as flashbangs. They're more meant as like a shock. You get a shock from it, right? It's going to scare people because it's a loud pop. It's a loud flash, but it's neither a flashbang nor a concussion grenade. It's much weaker than those.
In full gear go into this restaurant. This happened at the restaurant Buena Forqueta, and you can see how ICE agents came in unmarked vehicles like this, and came in full gear. You can see them like this.
What state is San Diego in?
Everything covered up before they arrest a couple of people. We don't know the exact number right now, and then put them in a truck and drove away. People did get into a protest, started spitting at the car, yelling at them, telling them to leave, and that's why police used that flashbang and that smoke screen to clear the area. Right now, we don't know the status of some of the people who were arrested, whether or not they were here on different visas. I have
California
reports that say they were J1 students, but all I can say is this: if you have paperwork which states that you could be here in the United States or a pending case.
By the way, the right is making this big thing over the Molotov cocktail guy. And he's a piece of shit, right? You can't attack people with fucking fire and be a piece of shit and think that's going to advance your political ideology, terrorist attack, whatever. That guy was here on a valid visa and just overstayed it.
Bring a copy with you to work or anywhere you go. Keep it folded up and put it in your back pocket. So that way, when this happens, you can literally whip it out and be like, I have status, I can be here. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated on this, so please do share my videos and follow me for more. Has just raided.
I would strongly advise against carrying the original. He said copy. If you're going to carry a copy, carry a copy. If you're carrying original paperwork and someone just snatches it from you and then you get hit again a block down the road in a checkpoint, you're fucked.
A San Diego.
We're here because we're outraged at what we saw on Friday. The scenes that we saw play out on the streets were absolutely unacceptable. Why were ICE agents armed to the teeth as if they were entering a war zone, storming restaurants? Why were ICE agents aggressively shoving people against the walls and handcuffing every worker in sight? This was to intimidate and to bring...
They handcuffed basically everybody and then figured out who they were actually taking and weren't.
Terror and fear into everybody's hearts, especially immigrants here. Well, I got to tell you one thing. We're not scared here. We're not intimidated. We're fighting back. Right. And we're saying this is not going to happen in our community.
People must have thought, wow, there must be MS-13 here, or some drug kingpin. Maybe someone like El Chapo's at the bar. No. They took 4 people away, dishwashers, busboys, maybe a cook. This made our community no safer, made it less safe with all that happened. We were told that this whole move on immigration...
Again, they frame this as drug dealers and rapists and gang members, and they go into workplaces and picking up people that are fucking at work. You think those are drug dealers and rapists and murderers?
Deportation was about violent criminals. Well, we know that's not true. These people just washing dishes presented no threat at all. They're helping our community. They were our neighbors and our coworkers. They're not murderers.
These raids don't reflect San Diego.
Uh-oh. The eggplant parm can't be that bad. Got him.
Reflect who we are. We're a cross-border community, and for generations, immigrants have built their lives here, starting businesses, raising families, and enriching our communities with diverse languages, traditions, and foods. San Diego's identity is deeply rooted in our role as a welcoming place of opportunity, hope, and understanding.
20% of the service sector jobs of the employees in Greater San Diego are undocumented immigrants. These are people who do the hard work day in and day out in our community, who make our economy go, and they are contributing positively to our economy and to our society.
It was reckless, and it was unacceptable. The use of flashbang devices by federal immigration agents following a raid on a local restaurant posed an unacceptable safety risk to all. Let me be very clear. This kind of operation...
Yeah, I don't think I could say here how I would react to this, because I think that falls under like premeditation, but I don't think it would be good. I get dark in the summer too. Like if I'm out in the sun too long, I get dark. We used to joke with my dad all the time saying we'd call immigration on him, and his CB handle was Julio. Like he looked legit like a Mexican. And me and my sister Stephanie got his complexion. So
does not promote public
black hair.
It undermines it. Our community's trust in law enforcement is diminished when scenes like that unfold in their communities. This was dangerous. It could have dramatically escalated an already tense situation. But most of all, it traumatized not only the workers in the targeted establishments, but an entire community in my city. And I will never be okay with that.
We're here because...
Oh, by the way, someone tried asking one of these Trump-tarded idiots on TikTok today the same scenario that I presented. Like, Trump doesn't want the courts to be able to interfere with his executive orders, and he wants it to where the national injunctions don't work, right? Every person would have to go to court individually to regain their rights, right? It has to affect you, and you have to go to court. The national injunction stopped, and that's what they're pushing for. So someone asked this Trump-tarded person on TikTok, who's been making a bunch of videos about how they don't deserve, aliens don't deserve due process. Someone asked him, like, hey, what if the next president is a Democrat and through the stroke of a pen says, okay, all guns or all AR-15s or whatever are illegal? This motherfucker, they're so oblivious to the world. Sad. I don't think, first of all, I don't think any president would do that because that's probably going to start a civil war. All you're doing, he did file for asylum and I think it was denied, but all you're doing is making a case for us to start a civil war. You're making the case that, okay, so guns, you wouldn't like that, so that would start a civil war. So you're making the case that we don't like it, so we should start a civil war. What the fuck? How does that help anybody?
Shame! 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 Back up! Yeah, back up! Back up!
Look at these guys.
Shame! 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 Back up! Yeah, back up! That's right! That's right! Back the fuck up! Back up! You guys are fucking Nazis! Get the fuck out of here! You fucking Nazis! Fucking cowards!
Their visa expired in February 2023, but they filed for asylum in 2022. It says DHS did not respond to the questions about the status of his asylum case, so maybe it hasn't been decided yet. Are generally protected for people who have applied for asylum are generally protected from deportation while their cases are still pending. So if he didn't get denied, then he's technically not illegal, right? They're generally protected until something comes up. They're either approved or denied. It's a gray area because filing for asylum doesn't give you a formal status. But until this administration, they would not be a target for any deportation proceedings until the Trump administration now is obviously going after them because it's a gray area. It's not written in black and white.
Go! Yeah, get the fuck out! Get the fuck out! Fucking cow!
What is this bug, dude? Oh, no.
That's how you feel! How you feel? How they feel on this one?
Black and brown men training for what's to come. For You page, Black TikTok, Hispanic TikTok trending. Fitness motivation boot camp, native TikTok viral. For You page, TikTok fitness gym, men war, black and brown. The ISUPK is something to do with the fucking. That's something to do with the Hebrew, black Hebrew Israelites, is it not? I'm not positive on that. What is this?
That came from the middle.
He threw a sandwich at him? The Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, yes. An important distinction, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge is the name of the original One West camp in Harlem, New York. The Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge is a splinter group that amended the original name to the Israelite School in 2006, while the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, the ICGJC, is the original group's modern entity. ISUPK believes that they are the only true BHI group, Black Hebrew Israelite groups, because of their One West roots. The current iteration of the ISUPK operates as a nonprofit in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, and is led by ex-One West Wester General Johanna, a.k.a. John Lightborn. There is a special focus on bringing their ideology to black communities to end poverty, drug addiction, crime, and other social ills. Example of anti-Semitism, the ISUPK sells clothing under the brand of UPK Fresh. Their products include a T-shirt depicting a slave ship and the middle passage of the slave trade with the words "True Holocaust." They're pretty crazy. Yeah, they're trying to deport the guy's family. I think a judge stepped in and said, "Hey, wait, we can't do that right now." But they are in custody. And Kristi Noem's running around saying they probably knew something about it. They may have helped. They may have aided. But the guy didn't die, right? It wasn't a suicide attack. He told them that his family had nothing to do with it. They didn't know about his plans. They didn't aid in his plans. He didn't even tell them about any plans that he may or may not have had. But Trump will get him out of here for sure. Right? They attacked the Jewish people. He's got to get rid of them. There's nothing else to do. He's got to get rid of them. Get him out of here. Oh, here's the clip that I was trying to explain to you guys the other day, and I didn't do a great job. This is the Destiny clip. That makes a lot of sense, especially when you're talking about
like 1 to
the further social left people, right? All white men are bad. All white people are racist. There's no blah, 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 whatever. So listen to this. Logically, it makes sense.
I'm just curious, on a scale from like 1 to 10, where 10 is somebody actually lynches somebody and 1 is like somebody calls somebody a big meanie, how bad was everything that happened? Like when you say we exposed bad behavior, like where on the scale from 1 to 10 are we rating this?
Well, I think that it should be, I don't think I should be rating it, right? Because if you were to like say something inappropriate right now, I probably would call you out quite literally in this moment. Now, what do I wish for you to be deplatformed and demoted from your position? Not necessarily.
I understand that, but okay, so I'm gonna ask again, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much?
All right, so this guy right here is Santana, and they're cutting each other off. It's hard to hear both of them. He's basically saying, are you saying how much racism should we allow? Yeah, I do think he probably, I asked that earlier, do you think he wants us out in the streets fighting? But listen to this. So he's saying, are you saying how much racism should we allow?
I understand that, but okay, so I'm gonna ask again, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much
racism is acceptable?
Yes.
And how much racism is acceptable?
Yep, that's my question, Santana. How much racism is acceptable?
Destiny, none. No racism.
Okay, Santana, is there a single white person that has no racism?
There are white people that are actively deconstruction.
So no racism whatsoever is allowed, but you also believe that there's not a single white person that's not racist.
Notice how you didn't answer my question, Santana. Is there a single white person who has no racism?
Racism and acceptability, no.
Santana, I'm going to ask you again. Is there a single white person with no racism?
Again, no.
Okay, then you just said that no racism is acceptable. So that means you're creating a movement literally that is racially segregated. No white people can be a part of the movement.
I said after that, Destiny.
You said that there are white people that are actively deconstructing their racism, which implies that there are no white people that aren't racist. So you're saying that your movement has no room for white people.
Yeah.
Again, it's
okay.
He's not arguing this in a good faith point. It's talking about the purity tests, right?
I'm sorry, let's re-ask the questions.
They destroyed a whole movement because they thought the person, I agree she shouldn't have went on the panel. She was upset about her movement. But all she was kind of rude. And they treated her like shit, right? You'll talk when I tell you can talk. Shit like that. Misconstrued everything she said. And she was just kind of mean. She's kind of rude. But they're like, oh, she's a super racist. We got to shut this down. And fucked up the whole movement. And Charlie Kirk pounced on it. And the right wing pounced on it. By the way, I need Legend. Are you still in here? Who's still in here that's got a TikTok account? Go see, you know the Ray Ray guy? Mallory Ray? Or I forget what his actual username is. But he goes by Ray Ray, right? Can you still see his account? I thought he got banned. But apparently, that's not true. Maybe he just blocked me. I'm trying it from an incognito browser right now. Ray. Oh, he did. He blocked me. It's Mela More Ray. MELLAMORAYRAY. There he is. He fucking blocked me. What a pussy, dude. He's been blocking anybody that leaves a negative comment. Anybody. After he did this calling everybody out, and then he's like, I meant weight classes here. I think it's this video.
Not one specific liberal creator that I wouldn't spar with. There's not one.
Pussy, dude. Such a pussy. Not one specific liberal creator that I wouldn't spar with. And then they all called him out, including Scotty K Fitness. You guys know Scotty Fitness? I'll show you his video in just a second. He comes back and says, I'm talking, he's like, so Dean, Good Trouble, Harry, they wouldn't fight me, blah, 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 whatever. Oh, well, here's the original video.
Why do liberal men run their mouths? Sorry, why do liberal boys run?
He's basically saying anybody can get it until
their mouths. Like, they act so big, bad, and tough in their lives and in their videos. It's just hilarious to me. But I want to say this. I'm a big enough creator now to where I know you guys are going to see these kinds of videos. There's not one specific liberal creator that I wouldn't spar with.
Not one specific liberal creator that I wouldn't spar with. Enough said.
It cracks me up when I see Good Trouble challenging people to a push-up competition. A push-up competition. Like we're 5 years old. Spar me. Good Trouble, Dean, Parker, Harry, Chris, anybody, any of y'all. I will raise funds and just...
Now, he does call them out specifically. I'll grant him that. 100%. He calls 4 or 5 people out specifically. But he led off with, there's not one specific liberal creator that I wouldn't spar with. Right? We all agree.
Just do a national tour and just go all over the place sparring against you guys. And it'll end up just like political punches when y'all were like, oh, that's just like MAGA to have to bring violence into it. Then don't run your mouths. Don't run your mouths. Run it in the ring.
Don't run your mouths.
Outside the ring. That's my challenge to y'all. Please, make a video.
I don't know how tiny he is, but again, we've talked about this before. How big is his fucking hat?
Let me know that you're willing to do it. And if you're not, your audience should be absolutely ashamed of you, and they should make fun of you every time you start to run.
Not one specific liberal creator. Now, he panics almost instantly. He panics because people are like, okay, bet. And then he's like, I meant, what? Have you guys never heard of weight classes? Have you guys never heard of weight classes?
Name something that triggers a liberal, a progressive, or Democrat.
Oh, I got your answer. I made a video yesterday implicating that I would like to challenge some of the larger liberal creators to spar matches. And all of a sudden, every single liberal out there, except for the ones that I would like to spar with, had something to say.
Well, you said any specific liberal creator.
Are y'all pressed? Are y'all panini pressed? Just for reference sake, here's what I said.
The videos, there's not one specific liberal creator that I wouldn't spar with.
And it's like they didn't listen to any other part of that video. They had people that were 300 pounds, 6'4" with 50.
Right, you said not one specific liberal creator.
3 followers challenging me to a spar.
But when everybody stepped up, tons of people took this challenge, right? He's like, weight classes.
They were tagging Scotty Fitness and Thorin Bradley as though they make specific liberal content. I forgot.
By the way, Scotty K Fitness is exactly in his weight class.
How illogical the liberal party actually is. Or incompetent. Because I didn't mean that literally. Do you think that I, at 5'6", think that I can defeat every single liberal in the world?
I think Scotty Fitness is 5'8", 185 pounds.
No, I later said this.
Years old, spar me. Good Trouble, Dean, Parker, Harry, Chris, anybody, any of y'all.
Anybody, any of y'all. Not one specific liberal creator. He names 4 or 5 of them and says, anybody, any of y'all. Spar me.
I will raise funds.
That's called an implication, and you guys apparently aren't even smart enough to catch that. Why in the hell would I want to spar against somebody with 50?
Why in the hell would you say not one specific liberal creator? Why wouldn't you say, these liberals, name them, will not spar me?
53 followers. What do I have to gain from that? No, I want a spectacle. So you tell your people, you tell your leaders and the Liberal Party that are in my weight class or even remotely close to it that I would like to spar them. I prefer UFC rules, but we can do boxing. I prefer UFC rules, just so we're clear though. They will not do it. You know how I know they won't do it?
So everybody's clowning on him, right? So if we just type in Ray, he's blocked me. I guess I left a comment making fun of him. But like, here you go. Check this out.
Truthfully, I am not afraid to take any liberal in the boxing ring. Oh, awesome. Somebody stitched my video. Let's check it out.
Fuck sparring. Put your life on it.
Not fighting Luke Cage.
Everybody's clowning on the guy.
And apparently his daughter's name is Jean Grey. I mean, I got the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe after my ass and the left. I gotta wonder if it would even be legal. I mean, could I step into the ring with maybe like a liberal infant? I need something around my size. I should have said weight.
Everybody's making fun of him.
Hello, and welcome to Ray Ray's School of Defense against a big bad liberal.
Hi, and welcome to Appalachian Fairy Tales School of Defense against Ray Ray. This works 100%.
If I've ever needed my MAGA family, it's right about now. Basically what's happened on this page.
Then, after he got called out, he's like, I need MAGA to come here because all the trolls are over here making my account back.
I have an infestation of cockroaches from Good Trouble's following.
Anyways, everybody's making fun of him, right? Taco Ray. Trumpers always chicken out.
I just want to end with this. The Liberal Party goes so hard trying to hurt people, while MAGA goes so hard trying to help people.
Bro, you literally challenge people to fights. And the libs are the ones that are always looking to hurt people. Your entire page is just you trolling people, trying to make fun of them for clout. You're a fucking joke. Who does MAGA help? Not the middle class, not farmers, not people on Snap.
You guys remember the person I showed you that was the, she was like the mean girls, the liberal mean girl, where she was calling people out in their makeup and stuff. I can't remember her name right now. He has a whole account where he just doxes her. That's it. Talk shit about her, talk shit about her husband, just doxes her all the time, trying to get any clout whatsoever. Here's Scotty Fitness, called him out.
There's not one specific liberal creator that I wouldn't spar with. If you can't run it in the ring, don't run it outside the ring. Didn't mean that literally. They were tagging Scotty Fitness and Thorin Bradley as though they make specific liberal content. This whole thing got taken way too far. Anybody can get it means within the weight division. Like, this was supposed to be fun. It really.
Anybody can get it means within my weight division. He even calls out Conor McGregor. How many times has Conor McGregor went up or down or out of his main sport, like in different rules and regulations, fought in it, right? To fight any fucking body. No, it means MMA rules in my weight division at my height.
It really was. I wasn't.
And as long as you haven't worked out in the last 2 years.
Trying to talk about backyard scrapping or anything like that.
Damn, Ray, you're out here ducking fades like V-Shred. Fuck both of y'all. Now, I know you were talking about weight classes, so for your consideration, I am 5'9", 185 pounds, and I would love for a
5'9", 185. That's the closest you're going to get, bro.
chance to walk you like a fucking dog.
She's trying to keep the shape right. She been in the gym, they in love with the ass. Addicted to it, she must be a drug.
Get it.
Married to the money.
I like Scotty Fitness. He's not specifically a liberal creator. He does like lifting and all that stuff. But he does make his views known about people, and everybody deserves this, and everybody should be treated equally, kind of deal. Pretty regularly. There you go. That's your laugh. Your laugh for the evening. Fucking Ray blocked me. And all I did was leave shit like, man, you keep fucking hiding from these fights. These people have called you out. Like, anybody can get it. It doesn't have anything to do with weight class, right? Walk out here on the streets and say, what's up? Anybody can fucking catch this fade. And see how many people comes up and says, I weigh 186 pounds. Is that acceptable? No, it means weight class, dude. Any specific liberal creator means weight class. Or if I called out your name. Thank you guys for joining us. Please consider supporting the show. There's going to be a change in my schedule. Usually the day I have my appointment at the VA, I don't. It just takes too much out of me to stream. So that's coming up in about 10 or so days. I won't be streaming then. I've also got some work to catch up on. I'm going to try to empty one of my storage units, downsize to save some money. And so there'll probably be a day where I'll be doing that all fucking day. I won't stream coming up this week. But I'll keep you guys updated. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Support the stream at coldbeer.fund if you can, if it's available to you, and if you want to. If you can or don't want to, that's cool too. Thank you guys for joining us. Check out coldbeer.fund. That's how we pay the bills, and I'll see you everybody on the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye. Oh, I finally got
Tell you this about
that game. I tried to play it last night, but I couldn't get the controls figured out. I couldn't get it to sync up to like my, but I finally think I got it. Mostly, at least the kamikaze drone. I don't have the spectator drone really figured out yet, but I'll get there. I'm working on it. I fucked around with it for about an hour last night, and then I messed with the kamikaze drone for, I figured it out and played it for probably an hour today. I'll get it. I don't have Drone Racing League. The ones I have are the ones I said Liftoff, Uncrashed. I don't think I have Drone Race. Let me see. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need G. I don't have Drone Racing League. I've heard good things about it, but I'm not great at like the racing style games. Anyways, I always do the free flights. But he hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'm gonna make your gut burst. Oh, it's cheap too. It's just $10. I guess where it's been out for a while. Lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump and I like watching the Drone Racing League clips and shit. Man, they're fucking awesome. It's really good for free, so I'll check it out. Superpowers. Here we go. I think I started. Thanks for the tip. I'm not great about hitting gates, and then I get so fucking frustrated I end up just quitting anyways. Do it freestyle. Here we go. I think I started some shit. Piss them off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in them beds. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself. Have a good night, guys. I appreciate it. 16, high on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. Oh, thank you very much.
What? I'll get my files. Wait,
The Drone Racing League. I'll try it out.
fucking stop.
Thanks.
Come on. Seriously.
I'll make sure to download it.
Kelly Bomb's an alcoholic. Oh, give me a. Oh my god. Damn it.
I have seen other people play it. It looks pretty cool. I saw Vanover, the actual guy that races Drone League. I saw him play it years ago when it first came out. Ain't seen nothing yet. Here we go. I think I started some shit. Piss him off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in them beds. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Alex Vanover? Is that his name?
Down goes Nino. We say it isn't.
I don't remember. He was really popular at the time.
Trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting right.
I'll post the track name and how to load. Oh, sweet.
On his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got frog news that.
Awesome. Thanks.
No damn research. They rework and copy on cocks that came first. 9th and 2nd string, and they acting like they know hitters. Assholes throwing bullshit, sending bronze to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience. It's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night? These parasites, these leeches, with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby eating heathens. Believing in reasons with no meaning is bullshit.
Sounds good, man.
Cause I hear busting the grifts.
Have a good night, guys. See y'all probably tomorrow, I think. If I don't dig into the storage unit. I've got 2 small storage units and 1 big one. And the 2 small ones are the same price as the 1 big one every month. So I think I can get rid of the 1 big one and combine it into the 2 small ones and save up, $100 and some a month. While we really can't afford it right now, so.
You're a pussy.
I just paid it, so I got a month to get it downsized. We'll see.
Your mother's basement, and I won't even give out your dime store handle because that's really pathetic.
Have a good one, guys.